um, machines,
Mhm.
and that's how he gets those tires to go up the trail.
It's like an off-roader.
Yes,
That's amazing.
and
Good for him.
he's extremely strong, as you would imagine. Very cool cat.
Okay.
All right, I'm good to go.
Tomorrow we head out to Texas. I'm gonna go visit Shelley Salas's office in Killeen. Her and her husband and her team sell 1,000 homes a year.
Damn.
It's amazing.
Damn.
Try to rub off some of that sprinkle dust.
Well, right. You learn from the best, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing great. But we're gonna drive down. It's not bad. It's a 12-hour drive. I thought it was longer. It's not really that far. Killeen, Texas.
I was about to say the Rangerettes, and then I said the whole name, and it was Kilgore County or whatever, Kilgore Rangerettes. I'm not as smart as I thought I was. All right, I think I am good to go here.
Okay.
I got a
All
clock.
right. I do. My clock is
Now,
up.
in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's real estate authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb's an author. And Barb Schlinker is a pilot as well. Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado has to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, Barb, I've heard you tell stories about people gaining access to people's homes. Now, in this environment where we have over 21 million illegal immigrants who've entered the country and were let go, now more than ever, people are really worried about empty homes. Should they be concerned about squatters? How do you prevent and how do you prevent squatters from occupying your home?
Well, if your house is going to be vacant, I would definitely um, get video cameras around it. Make sure you talk to your neighbors. Ask them to let you know if they see anything weird going on, because once they get in, it's tougher to get them out. The laws in the state of Colorado are very tenant and squatter friendly. I hate to say that, but it's true. I remember talking to one of my clients. He had me sell one of his rental properties, and he had several. And he told me that he had squatters in the house, in the basement. And he said, these people aren't my tenants. Called the police, and they said, sorry, you have to evict them to get them out. So I just read a story yesterday. It was in the local news. About William and Arlene. So they lived in this home for 50 years. William suffers from dementia, and he was out walking his dog, and this woman came up to him and, was petting his dog and befriending him. And then she convinced him to let them stay in the house for a couple of days in exchange for cleaning his house. So he agreed to it, and they never left. And since then, he got sick. He had to go to the hospital over a heart condition. So both he and his wife are out of this house that they've had for 50 years. The squatters are still in there with her son, with her aggressive boyfriend. The family's trying to get them out, and the police are like, sorry, they were given permission to come in, so therefore you have to formally evict them. Could you imagine that, Richard? I mean, that's just crazy.
It is so crazy. I mean, and it just seems like the people who you don't want getting special privileges do, and the good, decent people are not protected.
Right. And, according to Fox News, the squatters are now getting free legal advice to stay in that property that's not theirs and they're not paying for. It's crazy. And it's so frustrating for homeowners because the squatters seem to have more rights than homeowners in this country and definitely in this state. I had another listing that was on the market. Even though I had staged some of the pictures, our local MLS requires that we put photos inside the MLS that show the original picture. In other words, if it's empty, I'll have the staging photos, but I also telegraph to the world, based on their rules, that it's empty with the empty pictures. So these druggies moved in. An agent showed up to show, she was trying to unlock the door, and these three guys showed up from inside the house at the door. And she goes, "Oh, I thought it was vacant." And the guy said, "Oh, well, the seller let us stay here for a while," which was not true. There were 7 of them in there. So the agent called us, my assistant called me. I went over there, which I was kind of angry about it, and my husband's like, "Don't go, you're not the police." I'm like, well, anyway. So I went over there and just sat in the driveway. They all kind of scattered like rats. One of them came back and asked me to get his jacket out. And I said, "Don't you come back, because the cops are coming." And sure enough, the cops never came, and they did not come back. They did come back. They came back probably a week later, broke in again after we cleaned everything up, got everything out. And what was in the house, just so you know, after they scattered the first time, were these weird chemicals laying around that weren't there before. They had food. You could tell they were enjoying the showers because the utilities were on and all that. And anyway, I found needles. So I don't know what took place in there. Chances are they were doing some drugs that probably could have contaminated the house. We never confirmed that. And then after the second time they moved in, I gave up. I was like, okay, I can't control this. I'm not the police. I don't have the authority to legally evict them. That has to be the family. They were out of state. When I did get a hold of them, I think his first reaction was, "All right, I'll come over there with my gun." I'm like, we can't do that in this state, unfortunately. So he never came out. And then about a week later, I get a call from Colorado Springs Utilities saying, "Your water usage is really high at that property." And I don't own the house. The utilities aren't in my name, but my sign is in the yard. So the utility company went out there and saw the water usage. So put this in your mind, like it's a rectangle manufactured home, has a crawl space underneath that, probably 1,500, 1,800 square foot home that's at least 4 feet, probably 6 feet high. That entire crawl space filled up with water, so much so that the water was coming out the sides. And the utility company went there to shut off the water. So when I returned his call, I said, "Well, can't you lock them out of the water?" And he said, "No, because they're still in the house. You have to formally evict them." Then I called the utility company and said, "Hey, can't you just cut this off?" And they said, "No, you're not on the account." So even though I tried to help him, I couldn't. I didn't have the authority. So I called the family and said, "Please, please cut off the utilities. These guys are going to keep possessing this home." What they had done, Richard, is they had this is so stupid. They're sleeping in the house, they're using the water, and they cut the copper pipes to sell it for money.
Oh
And
my God.
the water leaked all through the crawl space. It's just unbelievable. So even more recently, I had a listing that was basically in a very nice neighborhood. And because the MLS required me to put the pictures of the empty rooms, these drug addicts, they look for those kind of pictures on Zillow and Realtor.com. And then they just go over and they break in and try to steal stuff. Fortunately, there were cameras on the property. The neighbor had a beagle that alerted everybody at 5:30 in the morning, and that guy got caught. But that's not common. And he tried to break in. Fortunately, the seller had this really cool lock on the door. It was a back door to the garage. And he'd actually, this criminal had basically unscrewed the handle out of the door. So he could stick his hand in there, but there was another sliding lock beneath that he couldn't reach. And so fortunately, he did not get in the house, but he got in the shed and got caught walking down the street with a power washer. So, I just don't want to do that. So I basically, it could have, first of all, having to evict somebody is one issue. It could take months. I'm talking, first of all, you have to post a notice, then you have to get a court date, then you have to get a judgment for possession. Hopefully the judge is friendly towards owners. And then you have to schedule a lockout. Now, all that whole process could take minimum 6 weeks, possibly longer. In the meantime, they're in your home, they're contaminating your home. Who knows what they're doing to it, right? And you can't do your own evictions. It's illegal in Colorado. So you actually have to hire an attorney to go through that whole process. So that by itself costs thousands. And because of the new rental laws now, they're actually, these lawyers are starting to stand up special departments just to deal with all these. They do have a special carve out for deployed military members that you can actually get a court ruling in 48 hours. That's good. But in most cases, they don't. And so I think it's a huge risk to have a vacant home. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how you can prevent squatters from moving into the home. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of things that we can do to prevent squatters from invading your home. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're discussing squatters moving into homes and what home sellers can do about it. What are some other things that home sellers can do to protect their property?
Well, I would start with the security system. And it doesn't have to be a full-on one with all these big tech companies. You can buy fairly inexpensive cameras from like Blink or Ring or some of those places and have them set up around the house. And the apps are maybe $10 a month where you can see what's going on. And, it's okay to, and it's simple enough that even I can do it. And I am definitely not very mechanical at all. So, that's one thing I would do. You would have to have Wi-Fi to make that happen. And I've seen people do that to protect their homes. The other thing is make sure your neighbors are paying attention to what's going on. I have them keep an eye on it, let you know if they see anything that's kind of weird. We as a company use an alternative MLS system, so we don't have to comply with our Pikes Peak MLS rules. And we do, I just so you know, Richard, I get busted every single listing I put in the Pikes Peak MLS. I get a fine notice. Did you know that?
I did not. I mean, why don't they just do the right thing?
I'm on their radar for some reason. I don't really care. Most of it's a little technical stuff that has to be corrected. But this one thing, I had this one listing. It's empty. It's beautiful. It's in a nice neighborhood, but it's kind of hard to see the doors unless you're right across the street. So I decided not to put it in the Pikes Peak MLS because the rule says that if you advertise a house online, this is a National Association of Realtors rule to protect other agents to help other agents getting into your listings. It's basically what it's about. So they basically created this rule back in 2019 that said, if you're advertising any home, it must be in the MLS, but it didn't say which one. So I put it in this alternative MLS. Sure enough, bam, I get a $500 fine notice from Pikes Peak MLS, probably somebody turning me in to the MLS police. And so I called them and said, hey, it's in the MLS. I'm complying with the policy. Well, that's our policy. Of course, nobody's ever done this before. So they just create policies just for me, which I just kind of laugh it off and say, I am not going to advertise that home is not occupied. I am very sorry. I'm not doing that. And they said, well, you have to put it in, but you don't have to put the inside pictures. So I had to shift to do that. In order to protect my clients. And I've gotten just as many showings. It hasn't hurt at all. So I even had one time a seller basically decided, they had a lot of stuff, big property. They decided to move out first and then do an estate sale with their stuff in the home. And the problem was they were across the country. they really didn't do any detailed oversight of this estate sale company. So anyway, it comes the day when the buyer's supposed to move back into the home, right? They're supposed to have everything out and cleaned up. We get there to do the final clean. It's still full of stuff. The estate sale workers were, no kidding, sleeping in the home. Richard, how would you feel about that?
I would wish that I had you representing me. I'd be angry as hell.
Oh yeah, and they tried to trash my reputation just because I called them on it and said, "What are you guys doing? You didn't get permission to sleep here. You were just here for the sale. The sale is over. Why are you still here?" And it wasn't like they were there for one night. I'm talking there were dried up wings in the refrigerator. I mean, it's really bad. So you have to pay attention to what's going on. Don't just trust people. That's what I'm saying. So if you want to know how to do this, give us a call. If you are thinking of making a move, even if you have a vacant house, we can protect you. Call us at 719-301-3900. Richard?
That is one of the many reasons I recommend you, Barb, a trusted Navy veteran. When thinking of buying or selling a home, Barb's your best bet. Richard Randall, you're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. And you can always reach Barb at 719-301-3900, or of course, barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the top reasons that a Colorado home is not selling and what you can do about it. Stay tuned for that.
All right, so we forgot to do at the beginning, and I'm sorry, I just didn't put it in the script. I don't think it's necessary though, about what are we going to be covering today?
Yeah, you know what? We always do that. That's right. But I think it's okay without it. I mean, we kind of just jumped into it pretty quickly, but I don't know. I think it's okay.
I think there was a lot to cover, so I don't think we even had time for it. If we're
If it
being
doesn't
honest.
matter, don't worry about it. Right? I don't
I,
care.
I, I think I wouldn't make a habit out of it,
Right?
but I like the change.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go. We'll go on to the next one.
Richard had to grab something. I think he grabbed something off the printer.
Oh, so what'd you think of that segment? I mean, some of it was stories I had told before.
It sounded to me like you still had more that you wanted to say, and you actually wanted to make that a full 20-minute segment, and I'm open to that as well.
I just, uh, I think if I give away too much stuff, they won't call me. That's fine. I mean, it's quite a topic though. God, what a nightmare to have people
Yeah.
move in your house uninvited.
And then the people that we vote into office and we pay to protect us have no teeth whatsoever, and they I don't know, you got to evict them. And
Right. It's crazy.
uh,
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready for two. Sorry for the delay.
No worries. Okay.
All right. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, as the selling season winds down, I think that there are quite a few home sellers who have homes that did not sell. So, what are the reasons that they're not selling? And more importantly, what can they do about it?
Well, Richard, I get calls on this topic every single week of frustrated home sellers wondering why their home is sitting on the market, how come it's not sold, and they're listed with somebody else. These aren't coming from my clients. These are other agents, customers calling me, asking me to help them. And I try to help them as best I can. There's only so much I can do if they're signed with another agent. But basically, it's these four things. It's very simple. If the house is not selling, it's one of four issues. Number one, preparation. If the home isn't prepared for the market, if the buyers are finding better choices in that price range, it's just not going to move. Pricing is absolutely fundamental, basically. Even the not pretty houses sell at some price. So that's a whole strategy I could spend an hour on, but basically pricing is really important. And I don't think a lot of agents have experience with markets correcting, which is what we're going through right now. The third thing is promotion. So promotion is about marketing, about good pictures, about attracting people to want to come and see the house. If you make a mistake there, they're going to pass it by, right? And a lot of people don't even study what makes a house look more valuable than the asking price. And then mostly, and most of all, is picking the right team to sell their house. So some sellers don't really put a lot of thought into it. They're like, oh, well, so-and-so sold me the house and she was nice and all that. But when you're selling one of your largest assets, this isn't an easy task. You want somebody that knows what they're doing. Now, some homes will sell at a certain price. Every home has a price. I've handled 200 repossessed homes, many of which were distressed. They all sold, and they all sold pretty quick because they know how to do it. But they have to be priced very aggressively to move if they are not in tip-top shape. And typically, the live in the home buyers, they just don't want to do any work. We just put a house on the market last weekend that was definitely priced a good, God, probably 60, 70,000 below current market value. And all it needs is paint. And we had a successful open house. We had 38 people there in 1 hour. And believe it or not, a lot of the feedback was it needs too much work. So even though it was just paint, people just don't want to do work. They want to move in, drop their stuff, and get on with their lives. So we did ultimately get a contract on it, so we got it going. But my point is, a majority of the people don't want to do that. So pending sales, the number of sales that currently have contracts are actually up right now. They're up slightly than what they were from a year ago, which is a very, very good sign. That's a leading indicator. But we have seen the prices correct to an average lower price than what we saw at the beginning of the year. The inventory number of available homes has gone up in a cumulative amount over the past 3 months, while the average days on market has gone up to 83 days. So imagine, Richard, you put your house on the market and you endure 80 to 90 days of showing after showing, and I don't like it because of this, and getting the house ready for showings and trying to make it look pretty and dealing with the rejection and how come my house isn't selling. And some people don't make any adjustment to what the market is saying, and that's why they're not selling. And I think that's really the root of the problem. And we'll deep dive into that here shortly. The other thing that's happening are interest rates are up, believe it or not. Even though a month ago the Fed lowered the rate by 0.5 point, it actually went up by more than that amount in mortgage rates. So now at the time that they lowered the rate, the average conventional mortgage was like 6.15. Now it's 6.68. and VA is about 6.15. So I don't know why this happens. I don't think the mortgage rates definitely are aligned with what the Fed is doing. But what we are seeing overall is lower buyer demand. And a lot of it has to do with whether or not the buyer can afford the home. And I check on stats every single week. So every week, one of the things that really stood out to me when I looked at the stats, just in the Pikes Peak MLS, but I'm sure they're pretty consistent across the Front Range. We get a lot of calls from out of area, and I'm always grateful for those. But I'm just showing the numbers just to give you a feel for it. So when you look at just a week snapshot of what happened, we had 350 homes go on the market. We had 467 homes drop their price. That's probably a quarter or more of what's available on the market right now. And the number of under contracts or pending is less than that number. So what that means is we have more homes not selling than selling. And I think it's all about pricing. And just so you know, Richard, I would say a majority of the agents that currently have a real estate license right now have never seen a declining market. 87% of real estate agents get out of the business every 5 years. Well, what's been happening in the last 5 years is the prices went up, right? We definitely had a big boom from 2019 through 2022. And then 2023, it wasn't bad. It was kind of medium. And 2024 is kind of similar, right? It's just sort of one of those kind of meh kind of years as far as where the prices are going. And everybody's in this state of mind, well, a normal real estate market is when the prices are going up and there's competition for every home and the market's roaring. I think there is pent-up demand built into the market overall. I mean, the Gen Xers, the Gen Y, the Gen Z, they're all coming of age. They are of age where they could be buying homes. They want to buy homes, and the reason they want to buy homes is they know that owning a piece of real estate is probably one of the best ways over the long term to create wealth. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a year or two, but across probably 5-10 years, it's a really good investment. And so most of these real estate agents have never seen a correcting market. So if they get in front of a seller, and the seller, of course, is relying wholly on them, they believe that these agents really know what they're doing, and say, well, where should I price my home, right? And they're looking back at similar sales and saying, well, that one is like yours and it sold for X, therefore your home should be worth this much, right? But they don't take into account that we've got a declining prices right now. And if you don't lead that, if you don't get that right, it's going to sit on the market. And that's what we're seeing. I'll give you an example. I had one, I have this one listing. It's actually closing very soon. And it was listed with another agent. Of the 4 Ps, he got 3 of them wrong, basically. It was overpriced. It wasn't properly promoted. The photos that agent had taken really didn't highlight the best features of the home. Things like back to open space with a beautiful covered patio. All those things were missing. And he's too cheap to spend $250 and get professional photos, right? It's going to make it 20 grand on a commission and he can't do professional photos. And then the worst case is he overpriced the home out of the get-go. He priced it probably about 100,000 above what it ultimately got a contract for. And then they slowly walked the price down and got nowhere. And finally, the seller gave up and called me. He made a shift to me. I got it marketed right away. Immediately, the first open house had 40 people in it. And within 9 days, I got it under contract for full price. So there's a way to do this. They just don't know how to do it. And I think that the consumer doesn't know any better. And there are times when either it's a difficult house to sell or it's not priced right, and you finally catch a fish. You finally get a buyer that wants to play. One of the little pieces of advice I got from somebody that has sold way more homes than I have as an asset manager for a big corporation during the meltdown. I love this quote. He said, don't let the buyer get away. Call them back and find a way to get them back in the game. But all the stars have to properly align: preparation, pricing, promotion, and picking the right agent. And in general, it is more expensive payment wise to buy a house right now. So you need to hire somebody that really knows how to position the home to attract the right buyer to your home in any price range. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about the reasons why a house may not be selling. And when we come back, we're going to touch on some ways that you can make your home sell fast and for top dollar. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. We have over 28,015 buyers just on our little database. Typically, we can find about 700 that are a high match for your home, and we'll show up with cash offers. So give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the why a house may not be selling. What are some other things that home sellers should do to sell fast and for the most money?
Well, I would say start with a selling strategy. I mean, there are quite a bit of people that don't want to go through the whole dance of, decluttering, making the house look like a model, all those factors. It's difficult for a lot of people to do that, and you don't necessarily have to do it if you price it right. So we have almost 70 cash buyers that will come in and buy your home as is. You don't have to make it pretty. And it really depends on kind of where you sit equity wise, what kind of risk you're willing to take. They may not be 100% full market value, but they're pretty close. But if you do go on the open market, I'd say number one is to price it very realistically versus betting on hope, what I call hope that maybe somebody's going to pay just because of X. Buyers are not just looking at that one house. They're looking at everything in their price range and deciding what is the best use of my resources? Where do I want to live? And which one's the best home for me? So when you price it correctly, you don't just look at past sales, but you also look at what the current market is doing. And if your house isn't selling, it's just a pricing thing. Probably most people have gotten better about how they market homes. Most agents have, and they are presenting the home pretty well. But if you're not getting very many showings, miss the mark. If you're getting just a few showings, it's 3 to 5%. If you're getting plenty of showings, no offers, it's 2 to 3%. Or it could be a marketing problem. You don't know, and you should be talking to whoever's handling the sale on a regular basis to make sure that you're on target so you can catch a buyer. My name is Barb Schlinker. If you would like to talk to us about selling a home in the next 2 to 6 months, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how to buy your next home if you already have a house to sell, the classic catch-22.
All right.
Is that okay? Do we get the thumbs
Perfect.
of approval? There we are. You know what? I'm going to get another Red Bull. I'm sorry. I'm just out of energy. You want anything? Okay. I saw something, I don't know where, Instagram, X, TikTok, and it was a scientist showing the tops of just regular cans of soda. And if you wiped it off with just your shirt, if you wiped it off with something else, I don't remember, and wiping it off just with your shirt or a Kleenex or something, it shows all the bacteria and stuff. And now I'm looking at this thing going, oh, I'm probably going to die of some kind of gut rot because
But how many times have you done that?
an entire life.
Exactly.
And and there are people who say actually that's good for you. It helps you build up immunity. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Well,
What, to get to have
but
germs?
yeah,
I think I should do that,
I should too. But it's almost like okay, I should go buy something and then have it on hand and all of the rest. But I haven't.
Okay.
Does it make your life easier? I really
It
don't think
makes
it
my
does.
life way easier. Darn it. All right, I'm good. Everybody good?
We
Yeah.
I know. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people are very concerned about which comes first. Sell first, then live in temporary housing, or buy first, then sell at your leisure. What are some of the solutions that you have, Barb? And Barb, what are some of the solutions that you have at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty?
Well, Richard, I think most people want the certainty to know that number one, their house will sell, that they're getting the price that they want and need, that things will go smoothly and it will close on time. And that doesn't always happen. Like I'm experiencing one right now where the closing has been delayed for 2 weeks for a myriad of mess ups, like the appraiser wanted things fixed. I didn't get the word. I asked for the word, and then so to try to explain this to the seller, and then it was sort of like I was swimming in glue trying to push this thing along and nobody else was cooperating. So we made the buyer pay his daily interest for that for sure, but those kind of things are very disruptive in the end, and they'd rather not do that and close on time and as planned. Um, and not everybody really is wealthy enough to have the luxury to be able to buy their next home first and then go back and sell their current home. It's a little bit hard for some people to do that, and it's nerve-wracking to pull that off. So the biggest dilemma is for sellers. Once they have a destination idea in mind, is how are they going to be able to get their hard-earned equity out of their house to buy that next home? Can they do it at the same time? Or do they have to make an offer contingent on their house selling and possibly compromise their negotiations on that end, maybe not even get the house that they want because the seller won't accept it? And most real estate agents really have very limited number of solutions if their buyer has a house to sell. And there are quite a few of them out there. So you want to make sure if you're a seller and you're in that situation that you hire the team that knows how to guarantee the sale, that knows how to show up with offers. We show up with at least 6 cash offers on your house. Hire the team that gets them top dollar if they decide to go on the open market, that makes the process the least amount of hassle, and then guarantees a smooth on-time closing and full market value for their house. So let me just tell a story to kind of illustrate sort of what happens here. So I've got a home on the market right now. It's on acreage. It's really cool. It's in the trees and it's got a big garage and it's really neat. Anyway, so this agent brought me an offer on that home, but it was contingent on their home selling, and their home was not yet on the market. Well, we had been on the market for a while and we'd started, the seller wanted to start high. We tested the higher price. It didn't work, but they did, systematically lower the price. And we're finally starting to get some interest. So this was really our first offer. We had no other option. So I said, you can test it if you want, but there's some issues with accepting a contingent offer because basically you're tying up your house waiting for their house to sell. And that house was not on the market yet. So I asked the agent, so is that home on the market yet? Well, no, not yet. Probably, oh, we're scheduled to have it happen next week. And I said, okay, tell me about the house. Oh, it's just so pretty. It's got granite and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, and where are you going to price the home? Uh, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know. I mean, that's just weird. And so basically they're saying, all right, we're going to sell this house out here, but we don't know for what price. We don't even know what it's worth yet. But we want to tie up your home. We want to reserve your home and let me wait for me to sell this unknown entity out there. Right. And would that give you a warm fuzzy, Richard?
No, that would not give me a warm fuzzy, and I don't think it would give anyone a warm fuzzy.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, so the story gets worse, right? The I said, look, I took that address that she was selling, I put it up on my cash offer platform. Boom, I got 6 to 8 offers. I said, hey, I got some cash offers on your listing right now. Can I present those? And she goes, no. I'm like, okay, well, it seems like maybe they have equity. They're putting a big down payment. Have you considered this other option where there's actually an investor out there that will let you take the equity out of your home? It's not a loan, it's a lien on your current house, right? And the cost of the money is only 2.4%. And you could buy this home without selling your current home. And then you have 120 days after to sell your current home. Have you considered that? No, no, we're just going to do the traditional way. Okay, so I present it to the seller. We get into negotiations. The one thing that they insisted on was to change the status in our local and my beloved Pikes Peak MLS to something called RGT. RGT stands for right of refusal. This is probably the only MLS that has this status. It's kind of a anomaly with all the big box websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com. And basically the theory behind it is you're telling the other agents that the seller accepted a contract contingent on somebody's home selling that is not sold yet. So if that next agent comes along and has a buyer that wants the home and they don't have a house to sell, they can make an offer and boot out buyer number one, right? So that's theoretically what the status means. The problem is it shows up on all the big box sites where the buyers are. I know this because I ask these buyers when they come to my open houses, where did you find this house? Zillow, Zillow, Zillow. It's always Zillow. So Zillow shows it under contract. Realtor.com shows it as if it's under contract, right? So that creates all kinds of demand destruction with the public because it tells the public the home is not available, which is not true. It is available if you have a buyer that doesn't have a house to sell, unless buyer number one can remove their contingency, right? So they insisted on it putting in that status. And I told the sellers not to worry. I have an alternative MLS I use that doesn't have that status. So we're not going to put it in that one. We'll put it in the Pikes Peak MLS just to satisfy them. So that's what we did. But it did create demand destruction from the other 5,400 agents in this market. They didn't want to show it. And I found just from training my own agents and asking questions that a majority of agents don't even know what that status means. And if they have like an automated search set up for their buyers, they don't search for homes that are in this status. It's to them, it's not available, which is unbelievable. But anyway, it's not surprising to me that agents don't really know their own tools within the MLS. I find that many of them don't even read the MLS. In fact, they use the showing service app to set showings. They don't read the MLS. So that's a problem. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be a problem. So we had pretty good volume of showings before we changed to the status. And then when we changed, the volume of showings dropped off substantially. So the end of the story was we did have some demand destruction. We had 1 or 2 showings, but not nearly as many as we did before. And then the deal blew up. We didn't reach agreement over inspection. Now that buyer wanted back in. They were like demanding, if we don't get what we want, we're gonna walk. And we're like, okay, bye-bye. Because at this point, their house was on the market. And you know what, Richard? Their house was priced, no kidding, $185,000 over current market value. There's no way that house is going to sell at that price for 5 years, let alone longer, in my view. And, you know, I told the seller, look, how are you going to get that seller's mindset off the idea that their home is worth way more? Their home is worth way less than what they're currently asking. It's just not going to happen. It's clear to me that that agent had no expertise, and or the seller insisted, you know, because I have granite counters, my house must be worth 185,000 over market value. I don't know, but at the end of the day, they wanted back in, and I suggested to the seller, I said that I don't see a way where they could be successful right now. Maybe if they get their home under contract later, we'll consider it, right? So you want to make sure that you hire the team that has your back, because I even went so far as to talk to their lender and ask them, hey, is it possible if we let them back in that they could buy this home without selling their current home? And the answer was no. So I'm like, all right, fine. This is mission impossible. We got to move on. So that's what we did. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about if you want to buy your next home, but you have a house to sell, what you can do about it. And when we come back, we're going to touch on some solutions to make you move to your next home hassle-free. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, we've gone from nearly all homes selling for a premium price to homes sitting longer on the market and some homes actually not selling. How do you give your home sellers certainty when it comes to a sale?
Well, we have a lot of solutions for home sellers. But if you are one of the lucky ones that has some equity, some pretty good equity in your home, which a lot of people do, you can take the equity out of your current home to buy your next home. And there's a couple different ways to do it. You can do it with a bridge loan. You could do it with this investor that charges 2.4% on the money. There's a lot of solutions for that, but some people are afraid of it because now it's like, okay, I'm committed. I got to sell my home in 120 days. And that's right. And you can do it as long as you price it right. So this solution is really designed for people that really are unable to sell prior to closing. Like some people just don't want to show their home before they move out for various reasons. Maybe it doesn't show that well, or maybe they have kids and dogs and cats and birds and, you know, whatever, that showing would be difficult. So, you know, and some people may not be able to qualify for both payments. However, if with this solution, you don't have a payment, you just have a lien on your house. So there are options out there, and we can guide you into those options. One of the options, of course, is to get a cash offer and accept a cash offer. I've helped at least a dozen people sell their home cash, never went on the market, got pretty darn close to full market value, sold in 2.5 weeks, and they were happy as clams. Or you tap into our over 28,000 buyers in waiting, many of which will pay 100% of market value. But at the end of the day, you want to hire somebody that knows how to get this right. I just helped a family sell their home. They are moving out of state. And initially, when we talked, we were talking about one price, but then when we looked at the market again a couple months later, it looks like it's correcting. You want to make sure you price it right. They priced it right. We got it sold in one day for over asking price. That's what it takes in this market. You can't dally around and hope that somebody's going to overpay. It's just not going to happen. My name is Barb Schlinker. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Remember to give her a call at 719-301-3900. Ask for Barb Schlinker. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, no matter what it is, just give Barb a call, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about, do home buyers really need a buyer's agent? Stay tuned for that.
Did I explain that story well enough? It's a little bit complicated.
I think you did. I mean, it is a little bit complicated, but I don't know that you could simplify it any more than that.
I think we would lose something if it was explained differently.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring in, okay, the right of refusal and all that stuff.
It's funny. I listened to this and I'm like, gosh, dang, Barb knows everything. I mean, and I shouldn't say knows because that's maybe not the right word. You have learned experience. That's exactly what I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much of the stuff you've learned by experience. And I would hate to have somebody who sells 1 or 2 homes per year. And because the other thing, and I tell people this all the time, is you do a show virtually once a week, and that means that you have the very latest information. And other people just don't have that. I mean, I know people, oh, well, my guy's probably woman is probably sitting around a desk looking at all this stuff, just like Barb is. You want to bet?
Well, I'm in the field, I'm kind of grateful for those agents that really, irritate me and do stupid things like that because I was like, yeah, hey, their story made the show.
Exactly.
I'd be happier if I could say their name, but I can't do that.
Oh, I got a feeling that when you say DJ, there's probably a couple of dozen real estate people out there who listen because it's like, you know what, 5 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure she was talking about me. Damn it. She didn't say my name, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
I hope she wasn't talking about me.
Right. You don't want me talking about you on this show unless you work for me.
That's never a good look. Okay, number 4. There we go. Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many times you've told us that most buyers start their search online, and many will meet a real estate agent from that search. With all of the changes recently, and the buyer's agent no longer offering unilaterally to do buyers, with all the changes recently and the buyer's agent no longer offering unilaterally, do buyers need a buyer's agent right now?
Wait, what did I write there?
I was a little confused.
So I think what I meant, you're supposed to read my mind, Richard.
Oh, damn it. I got in there 1 week and that was kind of frightening. Okay, here we go.
I think what I meant is a buyer's agent commission is no longer unilaterally offered.
Okay.
That's what I meant to say. I didn't say it clearly.
Okay. I got it. 3, 2, 1. Now, Barb, many times you've told us that most buyers start their search online, and many will meet real estate agents from that search. With all of the changes recently and the buyer's agent's commission no longer offered unilaterally, do buyers need a buyer's agent in this market?
Well, I think a lot of the buyers are asking that same question right now. And here's what happened over the years. And it's been a long, slow change. Like when I first got in the business, I remember, people were like, "Oh, well, you have a website." Of course, I didn't know what to do with it at the time. And over the years, websites like realtor.com grew out, and then Zillow, and then homes.com, right? These are all big, massive tech companies. They're not real estate agents. They're not helping people buy and sell homes. They know how to make it to page one of Google. They know how to make billions of dollars off the industry on the backs of agents like me that put pictures of houses up there that buyers want to see. And they've just created a better mousetrap, right? I'll admit it. I resisted it at first, but now I've conceded that problem. Okay, so technology kind of overrode the old way of doing things. So back when I first started, they actually had what they call MLS books. It was a giant white phone book that was printed every couple of weeks that mostly didn't have any pictures, maybe one black and white at best case of listings coming up. And that was the way agents would find properties, is they would basically look in the book and they would pick properties for the buyer to show it to them. Well, that all has been overtaken by technology. So everything's online, and now the buyers are deciding what home they want to see. Along the way, they happen to meet up with a real estate agent. And the assumption is the real estate agent is the expert on that house, or the real estate agent is an expert on houses in general. And actually, in most cases, that real estate agent, it's not their listing. They don't know anything about the house. They may not know very much about real estate in general. They might have just gotten their license. And the buyers don't know. They don't ask. They're just like, "Oh, cool. This is somebody that's going to get me in a house I want to see. Okay, can I make an offer?" They just want to get what they want to get, right? And so a lot of times we'll hear on feedback from the buyers. They'll say, "Well, yeah, the last house I bought, I was the one that found it. My agent didn't found it. I begged them to get me into that one," right? So I think there's just been a weakness that happened in the skill set of real estate agents over the years. They kind of let Zillow, show, basically hand them buyer leads, that kind of thing, or they let these tech companies, do this. And so what happened was they didn't bother to have any kind of skills. They didn't bother to try to find the buyers the house. All they were doing was being door openers, essentially. And if the buyer wanted it, then they would, "Okay, fine, I'll write you a contract," sort of thing. However, the problem with that is that there's not enough engagement or value provided to the buyer about what that agent's going to do for them. And I just came from a conference just a few weeks ago, and I was in a small group of some very experienced agents. A lot of these agents have sold a lot of volume, but typically the volume that they sold were bank-owned foreclosures, that kind of thing. So they had pretty good experience in the business. But when the question was asked, "Okay, so tell me how you're going to deliver value with this new system of no commission being offered in the MLS, and that you have to get a buyer to sign an agreement before you show, what is your value?" And the only thing they could come up with was, "Well, they sign an agreement, now they got to pay me." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I was trying to help them. I said, "Well, can't you guys have insider access to homes that haven't hit the market yet. Why don't you give them those?" Or I was trying to give them ideas. And it was sort of like, talk to the hand. We're doing what we've always done. It was really surprising to me. So the question is, do buyer's agents need their own agents? Not really. That's the short answer. And sometimes, yeah, they might get better deals going directly to the listing agent. Nothing wrong with buyer's agents. There are some really good ones. There are some that actually sit down with their buyer, find out what they're looking for, and help them find that home. And there was a pretty cool article that was written a few months ago. Actually, it was a couple years ago by this guy. He was a millennial age guy, and his name's Robert Farrington. He said, "What do real estate agents really do anymore?" It was a great question. So he researched, what real estate agents do according to the National Association of Realtors. What they're supposed to do is they provide market information, they get financing, they guide you through the process, they understand values. Theoretically, they show you homes, and they might facilitate the negotiations. But then when he deep dive into it, he said, we can find all that stuff online. We don't need an agent to do that. And one of the most critical things that they do want you to do for them is to negotiate or give you, as a buyer, good information so you can make a good decision. And, my family bought a rental home last year, and looking back on it, I wish I had a little bit more better information. I wish I had a little bit better inspector. I went off the referral from that agent for the inspector, and we ended up stroking a check for $13,000 a few months later on something that he should have caught. And it just, I think that some agents are lazy. Okay, we've got through the inspection. Okay, I'm definitely going to get paid, and it's all good, right? But the buyers want to know, good, bad, or ugly, what's going on with the house. That way they can make a good decision. So if you hide stuff or you don't give them all the information, they won't forgive you and they won't come back to you for sure. And so I recently have had just talking to people out there that bought their home and got into trouble when they found out about more about the home that they should have known up front after they closed on it. But the public automatically thinks that agents are so good at selling, negotiating, marketing, and closing. But the truth is, they're really not. They probably don't know the market that well. I remember going in to houses with buyers and they're like, well, what do you think it's worth? They'll ask me that. Usually I won't answer the question without doing research, but you can't, we don't know what house they're going to love or not love. So some people will do that work in advance. Some people won't. I usually don't unless I hear the love word, and then I'm all in and I'm doing all kinds of research. But I just feel like there's a whole lot of weakness in the value that they deliver. And we try to deliver really, really good value to our buyers. My team, they know how to deliver really good buyers. They know, they understand market value of homes. They understand even what the buyer needs. They can guide them towards the right financing. There's home down payment assistance programs out there for buyers that they may not know about. Let's say they're buying a new house. We've seen the builders actually tell the buyers not to do a home inspection. And I think that's a bad idea because, every home, even brand new homes, could have some issues. So it's a good thing to do. And then we also give our buyers insider access to hundreds of motivated sellers that are not on the market that want to sell their home. And I think buyers really love that. And, this whole change with this antitrust lawsuit created a different question. And I think the buyers should understand that they need to ask their agent some really good questions about what they do to deliver value. Are they just opening a door? Are they just trying to get stuff away from the seller? I've seen some agents be so ardent in that subject. They try so hard to get the price down and beat them up on this and beat them up on that, that ultimately the seller says, no, go away. I'm going to find another buyer. Okay. And that's a mistake because the buyer loves the house, right? So they failed because they didn't get the buyer the house. So this is part of what we do. We help them, we give them the information so they can make a good decision. And if they're adamant of walking away over a little cosmetic thing, okay, that's fine. But sometimes they believe these agents when these agents say, well, it's not worth that much. And what do they know? If a majority of the agents sell 3 to 4 homes a year, how do they know what a home is really worth? The home is worth what the buyer's willing to pay. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We can help people buying and selling. We have a whole team here. and we'll be able to deliver absolute value so you won't be disappointed in the end. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice, your home sold guaranteed realty. Always reach her at 719-301-3900. Barb, time to talk about your hot new listings.
I love doing that. I've got a really cool fiveplex down in close to Fort Carson that's priced to sell at $449. A fabulous home that is really underpriced, 2,200 square feet for $349 in Claremont Ranch. A beautiful two-story with a finished basement for $435. Also, a really great home out in Peyton at $639. A great home in Black Forest on 5 treed acres at $850. We also have a couple of great lots. There's one on Mountain Estates Roads, a beautiful lot actually with great views and a well, great benefit. And then we have a couple of great homes coming very soon. One in Rock Rimmon on Delmonico Drive in the low 700s, and a beautiful home with spectacular views on Sunbird Hills Cliffs is coming next week. So give us a call if you want to find out about all of our coming soon sneak peek homes, or you can go to barbhasthebuyers.com and see them there. Thank you, Richard. Have a great day.
You too. You want the traditional ending there, or how are we doing on time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or listen to the podcast on all of the podcast platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, many others. Thanks for listening. And again, reach out to Barb at 719-301-3900. Barb, great talking with you. Talk next week.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.